Good morning. Happy Tuesday. It is time for just a word from the Word. Our passage this morning comes from the book of 1 Kings, chapter 6, verse 23. And this is going to feel so random. But I want to share with you what popped out at me this morning. English Standard Version, not King James. 1 Kings 6:23 from the English Standard Version. In the inner sanctuary, this is talking about King Solomon, he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. So I was going through my Bible reading this morning. I got to verse 23. And I know this is going to sound really obscure, but the measurement of the cherubim blew me away. It's not that I have never read it before. I've read it plenty of times before. I've gone through 1 Kings 6, I don't know how many times in my life, but I don't ever recall paying real close attention to the height of the cherubim that Solomon commissioned to have made and covered in gold for the inner sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, to go over the Ark of the Covenant. 10 cubits high. Now, a cubit was not a standard measurement. It was generally from the forefinger to the elbow of whatever king was ruling and reigning at the time. So the king's arm was the standard for the cubit. So anywhere from 15 to 18 inches essentially was a cubit. So let's go shy. We'll say it was 15 inches. These cherubim were giants. They were giants. They were about 150 inches to 180 inches tall. They were giants. So over 12 feet tall, bare minimum. Okay? Are you hearing me? I know it sounds really obscure. I get it. And we read things like 1 Kings 5 and 6 and 7, where it's giving all these dimensions of the sanctuary, of everything that Solomon commissioned to build, all the cedars of Lebanon that he had King Hiram create for him and send to Solomon. It feels so random. But no detail in Scripture is random. It is recorded for a purpose. And here's what I saw from the 10 cubit tall cherubim. Anybody remember when David went to go fight against Goliath? Anybody remember how tall Goliath was? He was 9 cubits tall. Oh, somebody get this. I about busted out of my skin this morning when I thought of it. I know, y'all are going, Jan, get with it. This is all too obscure. It is not obscure. I wondered this morning, now I don't know, I don't have any proof of this other than that Solomon was David's son, and surely Solomon knew the story of David slaying Goliath. Surely Solomon knew the story of his cousins and uncles that killed Goliath's other 4 brothers, giants that were in the land. Surely Solomon knew that. And so when he built the temple, whether it was his dimensions or dimensions that he got from his father David, because we know that he had the plans from David for the temple, whomever idea that it was a statement. It was a huge statement of the glory of God when David or Solomon, whomever really originally picked the dimensions of the cherubim, I believe that it was intentional that the cherubim were taller than Goliath. Oh, saints of the Most High God. We love to talk about David, the little man, the little teenager, slaying this, several feet, 10, 12 feet tall, probably 10 or 11 feet tall giant of a man. We love to talk about David slinging his slingshot and a rock hitting Goliath in between his eyes and Goliath falling down forward, which that's a whole other subject right there. That's a whole other message that could be preached. How David slew an 11-foot giant. But I can just imagine David or Solomon, whoever made that final decision about those cherubim, saying, Goliath might have been tall. His brothers might have been big. But God is bigger than any giant. God is bigger than any problem that you could ever face. God is taller, wider, greater than any circumstance that you face. Yes, 10-cubit tall cherubim seems pretty obscure, but I believe that it was a statement on how great and mighty and overtowering the presence of the Lord really is in our lives. Oh, saints of the Most High, this morning's just a word from the Word. Stop looking at your giant. Stop looking at the smooth stones that you have in your hand. David was able to slay Goliath, not because he saw the height of Goliath, but because he saw the height of his God. We marvel and we revel that David was little and the giant was tall and David got victory. But we forget that it wasn't really David's victory. It was God's victory over the giant. Oh, saints of the Most High God, stop looking at the giant. Stop looking at how small you are. Start looking at how great your God is. He is bigger than your giants. He is bigger than your problems. But let me add to that. You're never going to know how big and mighty and strong your God is if you don't take time to get into the inner sanctuary and see how great He is. Get into the inner sanctuary. See how greater, how much taller, how much wiser, how much stronger your God is than any giant that you're facing. And that, y'all, that's good enough to preach. Did you hear my voice? I went into preacher mode there for a moment. God is bigger, so much bigger. Not just 1 cubit taller or 2 cubits taller. He's a universe bigger. Get into His presence. He's the one that defeats the giants. You just keep your eyes on Him. This has been just a word from the Word. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. Remember, I am teaching the adult Sunday school class on Sunday. We're going to talk about mothers. I'm not going to give you any more hints than that. But have an amazing day. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow morning.